Welcome to my channel, where I focus on creating short fanfiction stories set in the Naruto universe. Chapter 11. Proving Grounds. The explosions echoed in the distance as Naruto and the resistance fighters sprinted through the crumbling compound. Smoke filled the air, choking their lungs, but there was no time to stop or look back. The sound of metal clanking against stone signaled that more Terminators were on their tail. Naruto darted ahead, his senses sharp despite his exhaustion. He had no chakra left for his usual techniques, and even his enhanced physical abilities were running on fumes. I'm running out of time here, he thought, feeling the weight of his depleted strength. But he couldn't afford to collapse now. Too many lives were depending on him. Behind him, John, Sarah, and Kyle were shouting orders to the rest of the resistance fighters. They had to find cover, a defensible position where they could regroup and come up with a plan. But everywhere they turned, more machines blocked their path, relentless and unyielding. "This way," John called out, gesturing toward a side tunnel that led deeper into the compound. "It should lead us to an underground bunker." Naruto quickly followed, helping to clear debris from their path as the resistance fighters scrambled to safety. But as they turned a corner, a loud crash echoed behind them. A towering T-800 burst through the wall, its glowing red eyes locking onto Naruto. "Go! I'll handle this," Naruto shouted, positioning himself between the resistance fighters and the oncoming machine. The T-800 stepped forward, its metallic body reflecting the orange glow of the fires around them. It raised its weapon, aiming directly at Naruto. He had no time to think. He dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding a blast of gunfire that tore through the walls behind him. I can't keep this up forever. The T-800 advanced. Its movements slow but deliberate. It was designed for durability, not speed, but even without its guns, it was still a formidable enemy. Naruto leaped into the air, aiming a kick at the machine's head, but it caught his leg mid-strike, slamming him into the ground with brutal force. Naruto shouted, starting to rush back, but John pulled him back. "He can handle it," John said, though even he didn't sound fully convinced. Naruto groaned, pushing himself up from the ground. Pain shot through his body, but he refused to let it stop him. The T-800 stepped closer, ready to finish him off. "I need to find a weak point." Naruto's eyes darted over the machine's body, searching for any vulnerability. His chakra was too low for any flashy moves, but his shinobi instincts were still sharp. He spotted it, just beneath the chest plate, a small gap in the armor. With a burst of speed, Naruto dashed forward, avoiding the machine's swinging arm. He reached for a discarded piece of rebar on the ground, and, with all his strength, drove it into the weak spot. Sparks erupted as the metal pierced through the T-800's core, causing it to stagger backward. Naruto didn't stop. He followed up with a flurry of punches and kicks, targeting the machine's joints and pressure points. Finally, with a powerful blow to the back of its neck, the T-800 collapsed in a heap of sparking wires and shattered metal. Panting, Naruto wiped sweat from his brow and glanced back at the resistance fighters. They stared at him with a mixture of awe and suspicion, their expressions torn between gratitude and doubt. "He's not normal," one of the fighters muttered under his breath. "No human can fight like that." Naruto's chest tightened. "They still don't trust me." John stepped forward, his face hard to read. "We need to talk, Naruto. After this is over, we need to know exactly who you are and what you're capable of." Naruto nodded, though his heart felt heavy. "I'll tell you everything, but for now, we need to survive." John's gaze lingered on him for a moment, then he turned to the others. "We move out. Head for the bunker." As they made their way through the tunnels, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The Resistance had seen his abilities firsthand, abilities no ordinary human could possess. He had fought alongside them, risked his life for them, but it wasn't enough to erase their doubts. And now, the leader, the man who had accused him of being a machine, was back, his suspicions stronger than ever. They finally reached the underground bunker, a fortified room hidden deep beneath the compound. It was cramped, dark, and smelled of oil and gunpowder, but it offered safety, at least for the moment. Naruto leaned against the wall, catching his breath as the resistance fighters quickly sealed the entrance. John, Kyle, and Sarah huddled together, discussing their next move. The others kept their distance, casting wary glances in Naruto's direction. Naruto's fists clenched. They think I'm one of them. Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind, dripping with sarcasm. Can you blame them? You're the only one here who can take down those metal freaks without a scratch. Naruto's response was quick. I'm not a machine. Maybe not, Kurama replied. But they don't know that. You've already shown them what you can do. Now, it's time to show them who you are. Naruto exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of Kurama's words. The fox was right. He couldn't just rely on his strength to win their trust. He needed to open up, to prove to them that he wasn't some infiltrator sent by Skynet. As the tension in the bunker grew, the door creaked open, and the leader of the other faction stepped inside. His gaze immediately fell on Naruto, cold and calculating. We need to have a conversation, the leader said, his voice hard. Alone. Naruto stood up, feeling the eyes of the resistance fighters on him. He could sense their unease, their fear. But he wasn't going to run from this. Not now. Fine, Naruto said, stepping forward. Let's talk. The leader motioned for him to follow, and they moved to a secluded part of the bunker, away from the others. Once they were alone, the leader crossed his arms, his eyes boring into Naruto's. You're not like us, the leader began, his tone sharp. You have abilities that no human should have. You move faster than any of our soldiers. You take down Terminators like they're nothing, and you have powers we've never seen before. So tell me, what are you? Naruto met the leader's gaze head-on. I'm human. I may be different from you, but I'm not a machine. I come from a world far away, and I've fought battles you can't even imagine. But I'm here now, and I'm on your side. I'm fighting to survive, just like you. The leader narrowed his eyes, clearly not satisfied. You expect me to believe that? Naruto's expression hardened. Believe what you want, but if I were your enemy, you'd be dead already. The leader flinched at the bluntness of Naruto's words, but didn't back down. Then prove it. Prove that you're not one of them. Naruto stepped closer, his voice low but firm. I don't need to prove anything to you. My actions speak for themselves. I've saved your people, and I'll keep fighting for them. But if you still think I'm a threat, then do something about it. For a moment, the two stood in tense silence, neither backing down. Finally, the leader looked away, his expression conflicted. We'll see, he muttered, before turning and leaving the room. Naruto stood there for a moment, his heart still pounding. They may not trust me now, he thought, but I'll earn their trust, one way or another. As the sounds of the resistance preparing for the next battle echoed through the bunker, Naruto knew this war wasn't just against Skynet. It was also a war for trust, for acceptance, and it was far from over. Chapter 12. Between Trust and Betrayal. Naruto paced in the dimly lit corner of the bunker, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts. The leader's suspicions still lingered in the air, creating a palpable tension among the resistance fighters. Every time Naruto caught someone's gaze, they quickly looked away, whispering among themselves. The sense of isolation gnawed at him, but there was no time to dwell on it. The battle wasn't over, and their survival depended on everyone working together. John, Kyle, and Sarah were gathered near a map spread out on a rickety table, discussing their next move. Naruto approached cautiously, unsure if they fully trusted him after everything that had happened. We need to figure out how to get past Skynet's forces, John said, his eyes glued to the map. Their patrols are increasing, and we're running out of safe zones. Kyle nodded. The machines are hitting us harder than ever. It's like they know we're planning something big. Sarah leaned forward, tracing a line with her finger on the map. If we can create a diversion here, at the northern front, it might buy us enough time to escape. Naruto listened, his senses still on high alert. The resistance was holding together, but barely. Trust was a fragile thing here, and even the slightest crack could tear them apart. John glanced at Naruto, his expression unreadable. We're going to need your help again, Naruto. Naruto crossed his arms, his voice steady. I'm here, whatever you need. John exchanged a look with Sarah and Kyle before continuing. Skynet's latest wave of machines is different. They're faster, smarter. We can't just rely on explosives and gunfire. We need someone who can get in close and take them down from the inside. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You mean you want me to go after their core systems? Kyle nodded. It's risky, but if anyone can do it, it's you. Naruto hesitated. His chakra reserves were still low, and without Kurama's full power, he wasn't sure how long he could last in a full-scale assault. But there was no other choice. If he didn't help, they wouldn't stand a chance. I'll do it, Naruto said firmly. But I need to recharge first. I can't go in half-powered. John nodded in understanding. Take whatever time you need. We're counting on you. Naruto walked away from the group, heading toward the far corner of the bunker where he could find some peace. He sat down on the cold, hard floor, closing his eyes and focusing on his breathing. Inside his mind, Kurama's deep voice echoed. You're pushing yourself too hard, Naruto. I know, Naruto replied, his voice weary. But I don't have a choice. These people are fighting for their lives, and I'm the only one who can take down Skynet from the inside. Kurama growled softly. You'll burn yourself out if you keep going at this rate. You can't save everyone. Naruto opened his eyes, staring at the dim lights above him. I have to. I won't let this world fall like mine nearly did. Suddenly, a loud clanging noise echoed through the bunker, snapping Naruto out of his thoughts. He stood up, his muscles tensed, ready for action. What's going on? Naruto asked, approaching one of the resistance fighters standing guard by the entrance. The fighter looked just as confused as Naruto. No idea. Something's happening in the main chamber. Naruto quickly made his way toward the source of the noise, weaving through the narrow corridors of the bunker. As he reached the main chamber, he saw a group of resistance members gathered around something, or someone. At the center of the group stood the leader who had questioned him earlier. His face was twisted in anger as he confronted a tall, armored figure. The figure removed its helmet, revealing a woman with short, dark hair and sharp eyes. The tension in the air was electric. The woman's posture was calm but defiant, her gaze unwavering as she met the leader's eyes. You weren't supposed to be here, the leader snarled, stepping closer to her. What are you doing back? The woman crossed her arms, unfazed by his aggression. I have my own mission. Your orders don't apply to me. John and the others joined the scene, their expressions wary as they sized up the situation. What's going on? John asked, his voice cutting through the tension. The leader shot a glare at the woman. This is one of our scouts, but she's been operating on her own terms lately. She's disobeyed direct orders. The woman's lips curled into a slight smirk. Your direct orders nearly got me killed. I took matters into my own hands. Naruto watched the exchange carefully. There was something about the woman that seemed familiar. The way she carried herself, the determination in her eyes, it stirred something deep within him. But no, it couldn't be. Who are you? Naruto asked, stepping forward, his eyes locked onto the woman. The woman turned her gaze to him, her expression unreadable. Name's Hinata. Naruto froze, his heart skipping a beat. Hinata? But that can't be. This woman looked nothing like the Hinata he knew. She was taller, more assertive, with a fire in her eyes that the Hinata from his world had only ever shown in the heat of battle. But the name, the presence, it was too much of a coincidence. You, Naruto started, but Hinata cut him off. I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not here to make friends, she said sharply. I've got my own mission, and I don't answer to anyone. Naruto's mind raced. Could she be from my world? Or is this just some bizarre coincidence? Before he could press further, an alarm blared through the bunker, cutting through the thick tension. They found us, one of the resistance fighters shouted. Naruto's heart sank. Skynet was closing in, and there was no time for answers. But as the resistance scrambled to prepare for another attack, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that this new Hinata wasn't just a coincidence. There was more to her, something that connected her to his past. For now, though, survival came first. Let's go, Naruto shouted, pushing his confusion aside and joining the others as they prepared to defend the bunker. Whatever questions he had about Hinata would have to wait until after they survived the coming battle. Chapter 13. The Enemy Closes In. The shrill alarm filled the bunker with panic. The resistance fighters scrambled into position, grabbing weapons, setting up barricades, and preparing for the inevitable assault. The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly as the distant sound of machines marching in unison echoed through the walls. Naruto stood frozen for a moment, his eyes flicking back to Hinata. There were so many questions running through his mind, But there was no time to ask any of them. Her sudden appearance, her name, it all seemed too strange to be a mere coincidence. But there was no time to focus on that now. "Everyone, to your positions," John barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. He locked eyes with Naruto. "We need you up front. Skynet's sending in their toughest units. We have to hold them off until we can regroup." Naruto nodded, pulling himself together. "I'm on it." As he moved toward the front line, he caught sight of Hinata slipping through the crowd, moving with practiced precision. She hadn't said much since revealing her name, but her actions spoke volumes. She was as capable as any of the seasoned fighters here, if not more so. Naruto's instincts screamed at him to follow her, to find out more, but he forced himself to focus. Later, he thought, I'll figure this out later. At the main entrance to the bunker, resistance soldiers had set up barricades and mounted turrets, preparing for the onslaught. The heavy steel doors had been reinforced, but against the might of Skynet, they wouldn't hold forever. Naruto took his place at the center, eyes narrowing as he stared at the door. He could sense the machines approaching. They were close. Too close. Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated through the bunker as something slammed against the door, causing the entire structure to shudder. "They're here," one of the resistance fighters shouted, his voice filled with fear. The next hit came harder, and the door bent inward slightly. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling the familiar rush of adrenaline surge through his body. His chakra was still weak, but he had enough for a fight. "I just need to be careful," he reminded himself. "I can't rely on Kurama's power right now." With a deafening crash, the door gave way and the first wave of Terminators stormed in. T-800 units, their red eyes glowing menacingly in the dim light, raised their weapons and opened fire. The resistance fighters responded immediately, unleashing a barrage of bullets and explosives. The air filled with the deafening sound of gunfire and the metallic clanging of bullets ricocheting off the machine's armor. Naruto darted forward, dodging between the chaos as he closed the distance to the nearest T-800. With a swift movement, he jumped into the air, his body spinning as he delivered a powerful kick to the machine's head, knocking it off balance. "Stay focused!" John yelled from behind a barricade, taking shots at the advancing machines. Naruto landed, his feet skidding on the ground as he grabbed a discarded steel pipe and used it to block an incoming strike from another T-800. The impact sent vibrations up his arms, but he held firm, twisting the pipe and using it to leverage the machine's weight against itself. With a sharp strike to its exposed neck joint, the machine collapsed in a heap of sparking wires. But there was no time to celebrate. More machines poured in, their numbers seemingly endless. "Fall back to the second line," John ordered, his voice barely audible over the sound of the battle. As the resistance fighters retreated to the next defensive position, Naruto noticed Hinata moving swiftly through the chaos, taking down machines with precision. She moved like a shadow, using the environment to her advantage, her strikes deliberate and effective. But Naruto's attention was quickly pulled away as a massive machine entered the fray, a hunter-killer drone. The hulking metal beast hovered just above the ground, its twin cannons aimed directly at the resistance fighters. "We need to take that thing down," Kyle shouted, trying to aim his rocket launcher. Naruto narrowed his eyes, assessing the situation. "That thing's gonna rip through our defenses if we don't stop it." Without hesitation, he dashed forward, closing the distance between him and the drone. As it fired, he narrowly dodged the blast, feeling the heat of the explosion as it grazed past him. With a grunt, he leaped onto a piece of rubble, using it as a springboard to launch himself into the air. His fingers grazed the drone's sleek surface as he pulled himself onto its back, clinging tightly as it tried to shake him off. The drone's cannons swiveled, trying to target him, but Naruto moved quickly, delivering a series of powerful blows to its vulnerable undercarriage. With a final strike, he drove a kunai he'd found into one of the drone's vital circuits. The machine sputtered, its systems short-circuiting before it dropped to the ground in a smoking heap. The resistance fighters cheered briefly, but the battle was far from over. Naruto landed next to John, who was firing at more Terminators approaching from the rear. "Nice work," John called, not taking his eyes off the fight. "Don't thank me yet," Naruto muttered, his breath coming in heavy pants. He could feel his energy draining fast. I won't be able to keep this up much longer. As the battle raged on, Naruto noticed something strange. Among the chaos, Hinata was moving closer to the back of the room, toward a sealed door that led deeper into the bunker. She seemed to be avoiding the main fight, her eyes constantly scanning the area. Naruto's instincts flared. What's she doing? Deciding to trust his gut, Naruto made his way toward her, dodging Terminators and explosions along the way. He caught up to her just as she reached the sealed door. "What are you doing?" Naruto demanded, his voice low but firm. Hinata turned, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Staying alive. Isn't that what you're doing?" Naruto stepped closer, his gaze intense. "You know what I mean. You're not just here for the fight, are you?" For a moment, Hinata didn't respond. Then, with a flick of her wrist, she produced a small device from her pocket. "I have my reasons." Naruto tensed, watching her closely. "And those reasons wouldn't involve betraying these people, would they?" Hinata's expression hardened. "You don't know anything about me. Don't pretend like you do." Naruto's fists clenched. There was something off about her. Her name, her abilities, it all felt wrong, yet familiar at the same time. Before he could push further, the bunker shook violently, and the sound of more machines entering the fray echoed through the halls. The battle was escalating, and they were running out of time. "Whatever your reasons are, you'd better be on our side," Naruto warned. "Because if you're not," Hinata cut him off, her voice icy, "I don't answer to you. Now, get out of my way." Naruto hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly stepped aside. As Hinata moved past him, he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was far from over. For now, though, there were bigger problems to deal with. As Naruto rejoined the fight, he glanced over his shoulder at Hinata one last time. "Who are you really?" The machines kept coming, and the resistance was holding on by a thread. But Naruto knew that the real battle was just beginning. Chapter 14, Unmasking Motives. The echo of gunfire and the metallic stomping of the Terminators filled the air. The resistance was barely holding the line, and Naruto felt the weight of every passing second. His body screamed in protest as he forced himself to keep fighting, blocking a Terminator's crushing punch with a quick sidestep before landing a solid blow to its central processing core. Sparks flew and the machine collapsed in a heap of useless metal. But his mind wasn't fully on the battle. He couldn't stop thinking about Hinata. Her sudden appearance in this world, her cold demeanor, the way she avoided the fight only to move deeper into the bunker while everyone else was risking their lives. Something isn't right, Naruto thought. He needed answers, but there was no time to interrogate her when they were on the verge of being overwhelmed by Skynet's forces. Just as Naruto finished dispatching another T-800, he saw Hinata again. This time, she was standing at the back of the bunker, her eyes fixed on a device she had pulled from her pocket earlier. It was small, round, and glowing faintly, a technological object unlike anything Naruto had seen before. She wasn't moving, not even reacting to the chaos around her. It was as if the battle didn't matter. That was the final straw. Naruto sprinted across the battlefield, dodging explosions and debris, making his way toward Hinata. His breathing was heavy, his body aching, but he pushed through the pain. He needed to know what she was up to. When he reached her, she was still staring at the device, her expression unreadable. Naruto grabbed her by the arm, yanking her around to face him. "What the hell is this?" Naruto demanded, pointing at the device in her hand. "What are you doing, Hinata? Whose side are you really on?" Hinata looked down at his hand on her arm, then slowly raised her eyes to meet his. Her gaze was calm, almost cold, but Naruto could see the fire behind it. "I told you before, Uzumaki, I don't answer to you." Naruto's grip tightened. "You're hiding something. You've been acting suspicious since the moment you showed up. If you're with Skynet—" "I'm not with Skynet," she snapped, cutting him off. Her voice was sharp, her tone defensive. "But that doesn't mean I'm with you either." Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Then what are you doing here? What's your mission?" For a moment, Hinata didn't answer. The battle raged on behind them, but the world seemed to narrow to just the two of them. Finally, she sighed, tucking the device into her pocket and pulling her arm free from his grasp. "I'm here to stop Skynet, same as you," she said, her voice lower now, more controlled. "But I have my own way of doing things." Naruto didn't buy it. And what's that supposed to mean? You've barely been helping? You're sneaking around while people are dying out there. Hinata's eyes flashed with anger. You think you know everything, don't you? That just because you're a ninja, you have all the answers? You have no idea what I've been through, what I've seen. I'm doing what I can to survive in this hellhole, and if that means keeping secrets, then so be it. Naruto took a step back, his frustration mounting. This isn't just about you. We're fighting for everyone. Everyone left alive, at least. If you've got some kind of plan, we need to know about it. We can't afford to fight among ourselves. Hinata crossed her arms, her posture stiff. And how do I know I can trust you? You're just as much of an outsider here as I am. Naruto froze. That hit a nerve. He knew she was right. To these people, to the resistance, he was still an unknown quantity. They tolerated him because he could fight, but trust? That was in short supply. Naruto looked into her eyes, trying to find something familiar, something that could explain why she looked so much like the Hinata he knew. But there was nothing there. Just cold steel and determination. Who are you, really? Naruto asked, his voice quieter now. Are you from my world? Hinata's expression didn't change, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes, something Naruto couldn't quite place. I'm no one, she said softly, just someone trying to survive. Before Naruto could press further, a massive explosion rocked the bunker, sending a shockwave through the walls. Both Naruto and Hinata were knocked off their feet, the force of the blast throwing them to the ground. Damn it! Naruto growled, quickly pushing himself up. We don't have time for this. Hinata was already on her feet, dusting herself off. Looks like the machines have breached the outer perimeter, she said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. Naruto's eyes narrowed. This isn't over. When this fight's done, you're going to explain everything. Hinata didn't respond. Instead, she turned and started moving toward the main entrance of the bunker, where the resistance fighters were making their final stand against the invading machines. Naruto followed, his mind still racing with questions. Hinata might have been an enigma, but for now, they had a bigger problem. Skynet's forces were tearing through their defenses, and if they didn't act fast, the entire resistance base would be overrun. As they reached the front lines, Naruto saw John Connor and Kyle Reese rallying the remaining fighters. Terminators were pushing through the barricades, their red eyes glowing with murderous intent. Naruto clenched his fists, chakra swirling weakly around him. He couldn't afford to hold back anymore. Even if Kurama's power was beyond his reach for now, he had enough to make a difference. Let's end this, Naruto shouted, charging into the fray. Hinata followed close behind, her eyes sharp and focused. Together, they dove into the battle, their movements swift and coordinated despite their earlier confrontation. Naruto leapt into the air, launching a powerful spinning kick that sent a T-800 crashing into a pile of rubble. Hinata, meanwhile, moved with lightning speed, disabling another machine with precise, lethal strikes to its joints. But the machines kept coming, relentless and unstoppable. John called out from behind cover, his voice strained. Naruto, we're being overrun. We need more firepower, or we're done for. Naruto's mind raced. He needed a way to stop the machines. Something big, something devastating. And then it hit him. He turned to Hinata, his eyes narrowing. You said you had your own way of doing things? Is that device you're carrying part of it? Hinata hesitated, glancing at the device still hidden in her pocket. Do you have a way to stop these machines? Naruto pressed, desperation creeping into his voice. For a moment, Hinata was silent. Then, with a reluctant sigh, she pulled the device from her pocket. It's a disruptor, she said. Skynet tech. If I can get close enough to their control point, I can shut down their central command in this area. Naruto's eyes widened. You've had that this whole time? I wasn't sure it would work, Hinata replied, her voice defensive. And I didn't exactly trust you with it. Naruto gritted his teeth. Well, we don't have a choice now. We need to use it. Hinata nodded, and without another word, the two of them sprinted toward the heart of the battlefield, where the machines were thickest. The fight was far from over, but they now had a glimmer of hope, a chance to turn the tide in their favor. As they closed in on the control point, Naruto couldn't help but wonder if this mysterious Hinata really was the key to surviving this nightmare. Chapter 15. The Disruptor's Gamble. The air was thick with the scent of burning metal and smoke, mingled with the cries of resistance fighters and the relentless march of Terminators. Naruto's heart pounded in his chest as he and Hinata weaved through the chaos, their movements swift and deliberate. Naruto could feel the oppressive weight of the machines bearing down on them, each step closer to the control point a gamble with death. Behind them, the resistance was struggling to hold the line. Their numbers were dwindling, and the machines just kept coming. There wasn't much time. "Where's this control point?" Naruto shouted over the roar of gunfire. Hinata's eyes darted around the battlefield, scanning for their target. Skynet set up a local control node in this area. It's likely hidden within the rubble, but if we get close enough, this disruptor can do the rest. Naruto nodded, but his mind was racing. He had seen many impossible fights, but this was different. Skynet was methodical, calculated. It didn't tire, didn't fear. The sheer efficiency of the machines was suffocating, and Naruto knew they couldn't afford to make a single mistake. "Then let's make this quick," he said, dodging a blast from a nearby Terminator and smashing a chunk of debris into its face, sending it crashing to the ground. Hinata moved with the same precision, taking out a Terminator's legs with a sweep kick before driving a kunai into its neck, severing its internal circuits. Her calm, calculated movements contrasted with the intensity of the battle. It was clear she had seen combat like this before. Naruto glanced over at her again, the same question gnawing at him. Who is she really? But the thought was pushed aside as they finally reached a massive collapsed structure, half buried beneath the rubble. It was a tangle of metal and debris, with the faint hum of Skynet's technology pulsing beneath. "There!" Hinata pointed toward a half-broken conduit sticking out from the debris. "That's part of the control node's access port. We're close." Naruto's eyes narrowed as they approached the structure, but just as they did, a low mechanical rumble echoed from behind them. His instincts flared, and without hesitation, he grabbed Hinata and pulled her to the ground as a massive explosion rocked the area where they'd just been standing. A hulking T-850 unit emerged from the smoke, its red eyes glowing menacingly as it raised its arm-mounted cannon toward them. Its reinforced frame gleamed in the dim light, and it moved with deliberate, unstoppable force. "Great, just what we needed," Naruto muttered, pushing himself to his feet. Hinata stood as well, her eyes narrowing at the machine. "We need to take it down quickly. If we don't, it'll call for reinforcements, and we won't have a chance to use the disruptor." Naruto glanced around for anything that could help, but the area was exposed. He could feel his chakra stirring, but not nearly enough to unleash a Rasengan or any other high-level jutsu. He'd have to be smart about this. "Distract it. I'll handle the disruptor," Hinata said firmly, stepping toward the buried control node. Naruto's eyes widened. "What? No. We have to take it out together." "There's no time," she shot back. "You keep it busy, and I'll disable the control node. Trust me." Naruto wanted to argue, but she was already moving toward the node. He grit his teeth, then turned his attention back to the T-850. "Fine, but you better know what you're doing," he thought. The T-850 opened fire, and Naruto dashed forward, dodging the blasts as they exploded around him. He felt the heat on his skin as the cannon fire whizzed past him, narrowly avoiding a direct hit. He zigzagged across the battlefield, closing the distance with each movement. "I just need to keep it off her long enough." Naruto reached the T-850, ducking under a powerful swipe of its metal fist. The machine's arm slammed into the ground, sending up a cloud of dust. Naruto used the moment of distraction to leap onto its back, grabbing a steel pipe from the ground and slamming it into the machine's head. The T-850 staggered, but quickly recovered, reaching back to grab Naruto. He jumped off just in time, rolling as the machine's massive hand swiped where he had been. It was stronger and faster than the T-800 units, but Naruto wasn't one to back down from a fight. He launched himself at it again, aiming for the joints in its legs. With a well-placed kick, he bent one of the servos in its knee, causing it to stumble. But the machine was relentless, quickly recovering and turning to face him with its cannon charged. "Damn, this thing's tough," Naruto thought, panting. His chakra reserves were running low, and without Kurama's power, this fight was dragging on longer than he could afford. But then he saw her, Hinata, crouched by the control node, working quickly with the disruptor. She was almost done, but they were running out of time. The T-850 raised its cannon again, this time aiming directly at Hinata. "No, you don't," Naruto shouted, rushing forward. He leaped in front of the blast just as the cannon fired, creating a barrier of chakra just strong enough to deflect the shot. The explosion sent him flying back, but he managed to land on his feet, skidding across the ground. Hinata didn't look up. She was focused, her hands working with precision as she activated the disruptor. "Almost there," she muttered under her breath. Naruto gritted his teeth, standing between her and the T-850. His body ached, his chakra flickering weakly, but he wasn't going to let the machine stop them now. The T-850 charged, its fists raised for a crushing blow. Just as it closed in, Hinata shouted, "Now!" She slammed the disruptor into the control node's port. A surge of electricity pulsed through the area, and the T-850 froze mid-charge. Its red eyes flickered, then dimmed as it collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. The battlefield grew eerily silent as the remaining Terminators powered down, one by one, their systems disrupted by the control node's deactivation. Naruto collapsed to his knees, panting heavily. His body felt like it had been through a meat grinder, but they had won. The machines were down. Hinata stood up slowly, brushing dirt off her clothes. "It's done." Naruto looked up at her, exhaustion in his eyes. "You really did it." Hinata met his gaze, her expression unreadable. "I told you I had my own way of doing things." Naruto smiled weakly, but the tension between them remained. There were still too many questions about who she was, where she came from, and why she had been so secretive. But for now, they had won a small victory. As they stood amidst the wreckage, Naruto knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Skynet would send more forces, and the Resistance's fight for survival was far from finished. But for now, they had bought themselves a little more time. To be continued in Chapter 16, Shadows of the Past. Subscribe to Sakura Audiobooks. Give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you enjoy our work. Your support means a lot to us.